Welcome back to the Ever Sign podcast. I'm Albert Little here with Joe Royston, like usual. Joe, did you like that long siren sound this time, not the shorter one?
It was I think a little bit too long.
All right, you can do the
We gotta
siren
find
next
that
time.
perfect length.
You do that
All
next
right, maybe
time.
I will. So how you doing, Albert?
Doing pretty good. What you been up to today?
Nothing. I was supposed to go to Jacksonville,
Yeah.
because one of my friends was supposed to get a tattoo up there, because apparently the person up there is gonna give him like great rates. But
Yeah.
he got sunburnt, and so it's all peeling and shit, so he can't get it. So we're delaying
Language.
that. Yeah, let's have a little vacation up there.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a little rundown what we're doing today?
Yeah, we're going over week 2, and then going over injury news and previewing week 3 and doing our pick 'em. So
All right, so
let's jump right into
game.
it. Western
game of the week.
Bulldogs with 90, Carleton with 102. I mean, Carleton dominated from start to finish. Charlie Curnow with 5 goals. Patrick Cripps with 35 disposals. Carleton 2-0 for the first time in a decade. But is it time to worry for Western Bulldogs fans? They're 0-2 after a great year last year. Do you think they'll rebound this year?
I was planning on asking you that question as well. I had that same question written on my paper. I don't think it's time to worry yet for them. Western was left without Ford, Aaron Naughton, especially in those final few minutes where, if they have him in, maybe it swings differently. They also have Jack McRae, who in the third quarter, he really took over and made a comeback. And, they played 2 solid teams back-to-back weeks. Of course, they played Melbourne round 1, Carleton this week, who's really turned up. I don't think it's time to worry yet. It's still really early. I think they'll be fine. What do you think?
I think there's an 0-2 curse, but I think nowadays that 0-2 curse, that's nothing to be afraid about. I think they're a good team. They have a good, strong team that they put together. I think they'll rebound and get back to where they want to be.
I agree.
Our next game, we had the Sydney Swans taking the 30-point dub over the Geelong Cats, 107-77. And Buddy Franklin is the 6th player to kick 1,000 goals in AFL history. Where does he rank all time? And does he have a chance to catch up to Tony Lockett's 1,360 goals?
Time?
And he froze.
Yeah, I need you to repeat that.
Yeah, he completely froze.
Repeat it. What would you say?
Buddy Franklin's the 6th player to kick 1,000 goals. Where does he rank on all time for best players in the league? And do you think he has a chance to catch up to Tony Lockett's record of 1,360 goals scored?
No, for the second part. For all time, I don't know that he's top 15 to start with. But that's about all the information I can give out on that right now.
Yeah, I think he does have a shot. I think he has a shot to break the record of 1,360 goals scored. I think if he stays around for another 4 or 5 years, I think he has a good chance, barring any injuries or anything crazy happening. I think he might have a shot. But the Swans dominated from start to finish. Callum Mills had 29 disposals, and Isaac Heaney with 5 goals in the game. What are your thoughts on the game?
I think the story of the match for Geelong or however you say it, their inaccuracies. If you look at all their behinds, they had, I think, 17 I believe. I mean, if just 6 of them, a couple feet left or right, this is a completely different story for Geelong. I think part of it had to do with their star forward, Jeremy Cameron. Last week, involved in a huge collision, and he was in doubt. I don't think he was 100%, but he continued to play. He had no goals, only 3 behinds, only 17 touches. So I think, him not being 100% really left Geelong short on the offensive side of the ball. As far as Sydney, I mean, their midfield really stepped up big this game. Last week, Geelong, they bullied Essendon last week in the midfield. And Sydney really committed to not letting them do that to them. And I think they even played better than Geelong in the midfield, and that was influential in them winning.
No, I agree. Sydney Swans, very good team. One to watch out for this year.
Both of them good teams.
Yeah. Next game, we have Collingwood dropping the 100-point performance over Adelaide Crows, who had 58. Collingwood was all over Adelaide. But Adelaide did play well, though. Adelaide just could not figure out any way to score. Collingwood's defense is arguably one of the best in the league right now. All of them in good form. Yeah. It's just a tough team to break down. And what's most impressive about that performance with Collingwood is not one player stood out from the rest. It was a complete team performance to get that win over Adelaide.
Yeah, Collingwood kept their momentum from week 1 with their win over St. Kilda. And I mean, they thrashed the Crows around. They're handed 30 free fours, which, that's 12 more than Adelaide. And those free kicks really proved worthwhile for that offense over there. But I think a big thing for Adelaide, they were without their captain for the important part of the game, as he battled contact his eye and then a sore groin, which caused him to be subbed out. And I think with him in, it's a little bit of a closer game. It doesn't look like they're dominated like they were as the score shows. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Now moving on, we had Essendon facing Brisbane Lions. The Lions came out with a 97-75 victory. Essendon looked very strong early on in the game, but Brisbane came roaring back, overturning a 24-point deficit. And Laji Neal, what a performance he put in. 41 disposals, 12 clearances, 22 contested possessions, 2 goals, 2 behinds, 778 meters gained. Just absolutely dominated in the trenches. And key component of this Brisbane team getting the comeback win. What was your thoughts on his performance in Brisbane?
Yeah, it definitely was impressive. I think before the match started, I think the story going in was Joe Danaher, first game in Melbourne back against the Bombers after he spent from 2013 to 2020 season with Essendon before he left them in free agency, obviously. And I think Essendon was really wishing they re-signed him. Brisbane offensively, 9 different people scored a goal. 5 of them scored 2 goals. I mean, you're talking about a team game earlier with Collingwood. This is just as much as a team game with Brisbane. Essendon, for them, accuracy not there. Again, 15 behinds compared to their 10 goals. And that was the turning point when Brisbane scored 6 consecutive goals and all they could do was put behinds for 1 point. So that was kind of the turning point of the game for me. Yeah,
those behinds start to add up. If you can't turn those into goals and the other team scoring goals, you got it's a 5-point swing right there. All right, next we have Port Adelaide with all their injuries facing the Hawthorn Hawks. I mean, Hawthorn completely dominated Port 120-56 away from home in Adelaide in front of 30,000 plus Adelaide fans. Mitch Lewis had 5 goals. Port dominated in terms of disposals, but disposals don't matter if you're not scoring. And more injury concerns for Port as McKenzie came out with a ankle injury.
Yeah, I mean, last week we were talking about Port Adelaide and how their injuries could potentially cause an Hawthorn upset over them. And It showed up here. All the injuries caught up to them. They're held scoreless in the first and the last quarter at home. Whereas for Hawthorne, their investment into the youth is finally starting to pay off. And like you said, with Mitch Lewis, he's spearheading this youth movement. Was it 4 or 5 goals for him?
5 goals.
5 goals. I mean, that's crazy. I want to get your opinion on this because last week you had Hawthorne as your wooden spoon winner. So, I mean, how much are you taking out of this with this beating of Port Adelaide, who we both think could have been a top 8 team this year? Does this run continue on, or is it a one and done type of thing?
I think they struck lightning and bottle right now. They're just hot right now. Port Adelaide is very injured, very, very weak squad right now with all the injuries that they've had. For my one spoon pick, I was between Hawthorne and West Coast Eagles. I went Hawthorne, but I think Hawthorne, this young team, it's surprising me. I was thinking they'd struggle a bit, but right now their inexperience is becoming an advantage for them.
I keep fucking lagging.
Whoa, language.
Oh, sorry. Keeping it PG.
I ain't trying to go back and edit this. I'm gonna have to write in like the bio.
It's fine.
Use Joe's language.
Had to spice the podcast up a little bit.
Yeah, but we have what if this is being played in a kindergarten class right now,
I think we're fine.
Shout out to all of our viewers, all 12, 14 of them. All right, moving on. We had the Gold Coast Suns facing the defending premierships. Melbourne won 82-69. The Suns start off very nicely before Melbourne took control in the second quarter. Suns played hard all 4 quarters, though. If you're a Suns fan, you just have to be proud of this team. They're playing their guts out every single time out, like all game long. But just Melbourne, they gave Melbourne a run for their money, but Melbourne's just a strong team. And Luke Jackson for Melbourne, another strong performance, much like last year in the grand final. I think last year in the grand final was him telling the world, like, hey, I'm here, I'm a good player, and this is his year to back that up.
Yeah, Melbourne continues their dominance, keeps showing everyone that they are the team to beat. This team has a brilliant mix between veteran leadership, which I don't even know if you call Christian Petracca a veteran. He's only 26 years old, but he plays like a veteran in that midfield. He had a great game as well, 41 disposals, 14 of them inside the 50. And like you said, they have their young stars, Luke Jackson, 21 disposals, 2 goals, and teenager Jack Bowie, who had 34 disposals and 9 marks. It just shows how good of an organization this team is with their player development and then taking these players and having them perform out the field. But yeah, Gold Coast continue to play their hearts out. Very good game, all things considered. They just waited a little bit too long to take over the game. In the fourth quarter, I believe Melbourne only scored 6 points. So 1 goal. They dominated in that fourth quarter. And they could play that the whole 4 quarters. They could be a team to look out for.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on, we had North Melbourne picking up the win over West Coast Eagles, 74-59. North Melbourne controlled the match with Nick Larkey scoring 6 goals with 3 behinds. Willie Rioli came back from suspension and he scored 4 goals. West Coast, though, they're going for the wooden spoon, it looks like. 0-2, second least points scored in the league. They have the big Western Derby next week. How worried are you about West Coast? And what about that North Melbourne performance?
For the time moving forward for the next couple of weeks, I'm very worried for West Coast. This game was, I think, lost before it even started. I think the match should have been canceled, honestly. With all their injuries from week 1, and then they had a COVID breakout on the each of the match. They had what? Am I breaking up?
I was not expecting you to say the match should have been canceled. That's funny.
I think it should have been canceled. The players who featured in round one who was unavailable in this match, and I believe I'm lagging. Hello.
Hello.
Hmm. Hmm. Am I good now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, like I was saying, I do think this game should have been canceled before it started. Like I said, 12 players who featured in round one, unavailable in this game. The coach stated even before that he was going to be meeting some players that are going to be playing on the field this week, who he's never seen before, never talked to before. These players have never trained with the team before. And do you not think it should be canceled? The number of players that tested positive. I mean, it was 14.
Nah,
14
just play
players
through
tested
it.
positive.
Just play through it.
I mean, it just takes one player for this to be transmitted to North Melbourne, and then it's just domino effect from there.
Yeah. What about North Melbourne's performance though?
I'm not overly impressed with it still. West Coast, they're down to their last line in terms of players, only winning by 15 points against this team. I still think North Melbourne will be the wooden spoon. I think West Coast in a couple of weeks, they'll be fine. They'll win more matches than North Melbourne. That's my thought on it.
All right, moving on. We have Richmond gained the win over Greater Western Sydney Giants by 36, when total score of 109-73. Honestly, disappointing performance for the Giants. Jaden Short, it was his show. 33 disposals, 29 kicks, 10 marks, 798 meters gained. And quite honestly, with the Giants, you can see Phil Davis's absence glaring. Like a rock in their back line for the last 5 years, helping them win games in the finals last year and years prior, and just finishing top six on a regular basis. His absence is critically underrated when you look at this team. You can see a day and night difference in the way they play.
Yeah, Richmond dominated them when they played back in 2019, and they keep the streak going with this thrashing. Even with huge contributors for them missing out the game, like Dustin Martin, Dylan Grimes, just to name a few. For Richmond, the speedy Shy Bolton in that second quarter, he took over for them. That speed was too much for the Giants. He led that second half surge with the 2 goals, 2 behinds to go up by 20, go into the third term. And from then on, they never looked back. But like you said, big injuries, definitely the story for the Giants with Davis, who I have in the whole injury section. That's going to leave a big hole in their defense. And even for one of their midfielders, Lloyd, who bumped into his own teammates, him being able to just move the ball in the midfield is definitely going to be an absence for them to look forward to.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Final match of the week. The After the Siren podcast derby. Fremantle 55, St. Kilda 65. You want to start off? You can start off this time.
So we are not going to look at the first half of this game, because the first half of the game for St. Kilda was absolutely abysmal. We're just going to look at that third term. And 2 names in particular: Max King, Jack Higgins, carry the squad on their back. For Max King, 3 goals in just over 2 minutes, absolutely insane. And then for Jack Higgins, third term, also another 3 goals, both of them finished with 4 goals. And that helped flip the 13-point deficit that they had. And without them, probably not as happy as I am right now. Offense definitely needs to figure some things out, because you can't just look forward to just 2 players putting up 4 goals for the team every single week. So other teams, I want to see more out of Jack Hayes. Last week he dominated for most of the game. Didn't see that as much here, but overall they won. Happy about that. So I'll take it as it is.
All right. Can you hear me right now? There's a lawnmower going on right now.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I don't know who decides to cut grass at 4 p.m. on a random Tuesday, but They're cutting grass. All right, about Fremantle. I mean, Fremantle completely dominated the first half. Like, absolutely thrashed St. Kilda. I was getting all excited and hyped during my sleep because it was on at 4 a.m. in the morning. They improved their kicking accuracy in the first half, which we talked about last week. That's what we need to do. But later in the game, we started losing that accuracy, and the urgency in the midfield was not there. If you go back and watch the match, like St. Kilda was just running right through us. Not even like crazy patterns, just everyone just bolting straight down the field. Nothing crazy, just lack of urgency, lack of will to try to win the home opener from your own fans. But Andrew Brayshaw was the only bright spot for us. Honestly, he was by far the best player on the field that whole match for either team. 40 disposals, 10 marks, 8 tackles, 628 meters gained. Very solid performance. Had a bunch of young guys make their debut. Captain Nat Fife, he's still out. But yeah, Michael Walters, I forgot his last name. Number 10, he's our talisman, old veteran forward. You can see he's lacking the star power around him with Fife and other people because he was struggling to find his form right now. Once we start getting Fife back and get our regulars back, our star power will start to show, and I think Fremantle will start to turn the tide here.
Okay, fair.
All right, moving on to the injuries. Like we said, Phil Davis out for 3 months with a hamstring problem. The Giants are going to miss him badly.
Big hole in the defense right there. Yep.
3 months is a lot. That's at least 12 matches right there.
Yeah.
That's a big loss for them. Zach Merritt of Essendon, he's out for 2 months after suffering an ankle injury. That's going to be a big blow for Essendon, their hopes. Taron Thomas, North Melbourne, he's out for 4 weeks. Dan Handenberry of St. Kilda to miss more time with a calf injury. It's just the injury bug's hitting early and often right now, early stages of the season. Yeah. Any other injuries you got written down?
I have Colin Woods, Nathan Kruger, who left the game with a shoulder injury. He scored 2 goals against the Crows. So I have to see if he's able to make a comeback for next week. See if they can get that offense going without him if he misses it. And then I want to see what happens to the West Coast players if the guys can test positive for their next match against Fremantle.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Player of the week. Who's your player of the week?
I'm going to take player of the week and goal of the week all in one.
Okay.
I have Lance Franklin's kick, his 1,000th career kick as the goal of the week.
Buddy.
And I mean, it was just an amazing thing to see. You know, you had fans. If you're a Sydney fan or not a Sydney fan, they're just rung onto the pitch. It was a glorious scene. Everyone was embracing him. Even though, you know, he scored 4 goals, I believe. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So, I mean, player of the week, you know, he still should get considerations for that. I mean, that's why I have him. I mean, it was just a classy scene from everybody and classy player in Lance Franklin.
Who do you think he'll be remembered as? A Hawthorne Hawk or a Sydney Swan when he retires at the end of the day?
We're gonna go with Sydney.
I'm gonna go with Hawthorne. That's where he made his name.
I'm sticking with Sydney.
All right. So my player of the week, Lachie Neal of Brisbane, dominated the trenches like we discussed earlier. Key component, key pivot point of the team, going from defensive duties to attack. All around great performance. I don't think anybody compared to him. Then my goal of the week, Taron Thomas. He edged out. I forgot who scored the goal where they slid in and to tap it in because the ball was going out. But Taron Thomas was my pick for goal of the week. North Melbourne kicked it in right to him. Ran past 5 guys from almost midfield. He kicks it over everybody. Ball lands on the ground, rolls into the goal. One of the farthest goals of the season. Quick coast-to-coast action. That was my goal of the week. Yo, you there?
We gotta get a fucking different setup, brother. The fucking
Whoa.
excuse my
We're
language.
just find
This
a
Zoom
different
thing
place
ain't
in your
working, buddy.
house.
Yeah.
I'm gonna edit all this out now.
No, maybe I'll go with you. And I'll take an outside look.
Yeah.
Out on my porch.
Yeah. All right, let's do our match. Week 3 pick 'em. I was 6-3 last week, so I'm going first. Western Bulldogs versus
I'm
Sydney
5-4,
Swans.
so you're gonna start this week. Yep.
Yeah. Western Bulldogs versus Sydney Swans. I'm going Sydney Swans.
I'm going Western.
Bit aggressive.
Western to pick up their first win.
All right, next one we have Melbourne versus Essendon. I'm taking Melbourne.
Melbourne.
All right. Next we got the showdown, the Adelaide Derby here. That's what it's named, the showdown. Adelaide Crows versus Port Adelaide. I think Port Adelaide is going to figure out a way to pull this one off. In rivalry games, you can't look at form and injuries. These two are rivals. The young guys played against each other all their lives. Port Adelaide's going to pull through here.
Give me Adelaide in this matchup. Taking the home team for Adelaide. I'm taking Adelaide.
No, I didn't hear you because they decided to start the lawnmower again. Because
Yeah.
let's just stop the lawnmower, then start the lawnmower.
This
Makes no sense.
podcast is an absolute mess right now. An absolute mess.
You've cursed like about 15 times during it, so you gotta clean that up for our next
Only
one.
twice. I can count on one hand.
No. I've heard like 7 times. All right, next we got Grand Western Sydney Giants
we'll
versus
have a
the
counter
Gold
or
Coast
something.
Suns. I'm going to take the Giants here against the Suns.
Oh my goodness. I'm going Gold Coast.
That's why I'm in first. All right, next we have Collingwood versus the Geelong Cats. I am taking the underdog here. I want Collingwood to continue their hot streak, go 3-0, scored 100 points every single week. I think Geelong's kicking inaccuracies is going to haunt them during this game. Give me Collingwood.
I had Collingwood as well, actually, over Geelong.
Go pick. Finally, you're smart now.
With you with that.
All right, Brisbane Lions versus North Melbourne. Brisbane. Come on.
Brisbane. Not much to it.
Carlton versus Hawthorn.
Yeah, about.
Battle of
Whoa.
undefeateds.
I'm pretty sure the top 2 on the ladder. I was a little shocked there. You're taking Hawthorn?
Yeah, I like what they've done so far. And in the past they beat up on Carlton.
This is a different Carlton from the past. Give me Carlton at home.
All right. Next is St. Kilda versus Richmond. I like Richmond in this battle.
I'm riding with St. Kilda. Riding with them.
All right. Wrapping off the weekend, we have the Western Derby in Perth. You have the West Coast Eagles versus Fremantle. Give me my Dockers. Come on. Let's go.
If it wasn't for West Coast's injuries and all these COVID-19 stuff, I would be going with them, but I just can't. And I'm rocking with Fremantle Dockers on this one.
Let's go. Frio up. All right. That wraps up our episode here for AFL this week.
Quite the podcast.
Yeah, it was a solid one. Very good one. We were more prepared this time than last time.
All right. We'll see you guys later for the baseball one.
Yep. We'll give our predictions. NL, AL, award-winning World Series picks. Go division by division.
So tune in.
Yep. Adios.